Hello and welcome back. In the previous lecture, you have been introduced about integrated skills instruction. In the present lecture, you will have the opportunity to look at some case studies in which speaking was integrated into a listening-based lesson and discuss the benefits that such an integration brought about. It is expected that these case studies will help you to draw out some implication for your instructional practices. Listening and speaking can be integrated for a variety of purposes and in different combinations, such as when listening is used to support a speaking-focused lesson, or in interactive classroom communication when listening and speaking are inseparable. For the purpose of this entry, though, the discussion focuses on lessons in which speaking activity support or extend learning through and for listening. Research shows that within such listening-focused lesson, speaking can be used in a systematic and principled way to not only enhance listening comprehension, but also to achieve two other important goals, namely fostering mega connection and supporting the learning of language forms encountered in listening, such as vocabulary, grammatical structure, and phonological features. Furthermore, speaking can be used in each of the three stages in a typical listening-focused lesson: the pre-listening, while listening, and post-listening phases. The first study by Van der Greit and Tervohotari investigated the effect of metacognitive strategy training on both L2 listening comprehension and metacognition development. In this study, 106 learners of French as a second language were assigned to either a metacognitive training group or a control group. Both groups participated in 13 listening sessions carried out over a period of 13 weeks, one lesson per week. In each lesson, the metacognitive group were given the topic of the upcoming listening passage and asked to discuss it and note down their prediction about the type of information and vocabulary that they might meet in the listening input. During their first listen, they verified their prediction and added further information to their notes. After the first listen, they worked in group or pairs again to discuss the plausibility of their previous prediction, evaluate the outcome from their first listen, identify further gaps in their text comprehension, and then set goals for the next listen. After the second listen, they filled in the gaps where they could, discussed their understanding of the material that they listened to, and share how they had dealt with the gap they faced. The final listen gave them another chance to check their comprehension, after which they reflected on the whole listening process and identified listening strategy, which they could try out in the following lesson. The learners in the control condition listened to the same text 3 times without metacognitive training. The finding shows that the treatment group outperformed the control group in both end-term listening comprehension and metacognitive awareness tests. The second study by de La Fontaine focuses on speaking in the post-listening stage. It shows how a combination of listening and speaking is more effective for learning the meaning of new vocabulary items introduced in the oral input than the alternative approach of repeated listening. In the study, 2 groups of learners of Spanish as a foreign language were given a picture of a room and followed directions given by a native speaker to put 10 items, the target was, in specified places in the picture of the room. Learners in the listening-speaking condition listened once to the input and then took the role of the direction giver, with the native speaker now the listener. In the repeated listening condition, learner listened twice to the set of direction. De La Fontaine felt that the listening-speaking group achieved significantly better text comprehension and higher vocabulary gains compared to the learner in the repeated listening group. Nguyen and Booth investigated the impact of retelling a text on L2 listening comprehension and incidental vocabulary uptake from TED Talks. The focus here is on the while listening stage. In the study, EFL learners in intake classes were required either to watch a TED Talk video twice or watch this video twice but with an oral summary activity inserted in between. Text comprehension was measured using 15 yes-no content questions, and vocabulary gains were measured using a word form recall test and a word meaning recall test. Results confirmed the prediction that watching the video twice with a summary activity inserted in between led to significantly better text comprehension and lexicon uptake than merely watching the video twice. The 3 case studies above indicated that speaking can be integrated into all 3 stages of a listening lesson, and in each stage used to achieve any or all of the 3 main learning goals: facilitating meta-cognition development, enhancing comprehension and retention of listening content, and creating opportunities for focus on form. Of course, these 3 goals areas are closely interrelated. Learn new forms in the input will aid comprehension on a repeat listen, just as improved comprehension provides a stronger basis for noticing new language forms in the input. But perhaps more importantly, when learners have been trained to use metacognitive strategies effectively in LT listening, they themselves can and indeed should be encouraged to deploy this strategy to autonomously improve their listening comprehension skills and to maximize the language learning opportunities available through listening. Now we expect that you have already been able to describe at least 3 ways to integrate speaking into a listening-based lesson and speculate benefits that this integration may bring about based on previous research findings. Thank you.